Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our Sabbath class, the 30th of March, 2024. Last night we was dealing with the vault was open in our clubhouse room. So I'm just gonna privy off of that. We're gonna deal with it today, that way I can have the information and the conversation on Clubhouse and on Prophets of Awakening. Okay, you can go to our YouTube channel, to Prophets of Awakening. We have a lot of videos, over 900 or so, that you can dive into the information. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, and it helps you better your understanding, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It'll be greatly appreciated. If you feel a need to support the channel further along, you can look at our cash app at the bottom of the screen. Like I said, our hours of operation are Monday through Friday. It's 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time. And then on Saturdays, we have two Shabbat classes, one in the morning, 10 to 12 a.m. Central Time. Then we close the Shabbat out for about an hour, 6 to 7 in the evening, Central Time, p.m. Okay. This is a non-Messianic channel for those that don't know. By that, I mean we deal with the Tanakh and the Torah, Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament. And those, the Torah defines who we are as Hebrew Israelites. It's our culture, the laws that was given us by the Creator, by the Lord of Hosts. So shalom and welcome to this channel. Welcome to our Sabbath class. We're going to do our normal moment of silence, Sabbath prayer, we'll read the Psalms, then we'll do some current events and some needy information. And we'll open it up for some questions, comments, and a little dialogue. And then we'll go into our topic, which is the vault is open. President Putin brought out some ancient artifacts, ancient relics, verifying who so-called Christ is and his color, or more specifically, and who the real Israelites are. This is what my main concern is. So with that being said, this moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts and all that he's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Okay. Oh Lord, I pray unto the Lord my God, and we make our confessions, O Lord, the great and dreadful God, keeping covenant and mercy to them that love thee, and to them that keep thy commandments. O Lord, righteousness belongs unto thee, but unto us a confusion of face as it is this day. To the men of Judah, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and unto all Israel that are near and that are far off, through all the countries where thou hast driven us, because of our trespass that we have trespassed against thee. As it is written in the laws of Moses, all this evil has come upon us in the land of our captivity, here in the Americas, in the Caribbean, Great Britain, and Africa. O Lord, according to all thy righteousness, I beseech thee, that thine anger and thy fury be turned away from thy city, Jerusalem, and thy people, and thy holy mountain. O Lord, hear this prayer, cause thy face to shine upon thy sanctuary and thy people for your sake. O Lord, open thine eyes and incline thine ears to hear and to behold our condition. O Lord, hear, O Lord, forgive, O Lord, hearken and do. Defer not for thy own sake, O my Lord, for thy people and your land needs you desperately at this hour. Peace be unto you. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to read a psalm. Okay, and I'll read Psalms 37. So, sound fitting and proper. Okay, so in Psalm 37, okay, this is the true state of the wicked. The Psalm of David. Fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity. For they shall soon be cut down like the grass, and wither as green herb. Trust in the Lord, do good, so shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. Commit thy way unto the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass, and he shall bring forth thy righteousness as the light, and thy judgment as the noonday. Rest in the Lord, and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospers in his way, because of the man who brings wicked devices to pass. Cease from anger, and forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise to do evil, for evildoers shall be cut off. But those that wait upon the Lord, they shall inherit the earth. For yet a little while, and the wicked shall not be. Yea, thou shalt diligently consider his place, and it shall not be. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. And the wicked plotteth against the just, gnasheth upon him with his teeth. The Lord shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming. The wicked have drawn out the sword, and have bent their bow, and cast down the poor and needy, and to slay such as be an upright conversation. The sword shall enter into their own heart, and the bows shall be broken. The little that a righteous man have is better than the riches of many wicked. For the arm of the wicked shall be broken, but the Lord upholdeth the righteous. The Lord knoweth the day of the upright, and their inheritance shall be forever. They shall not be ashamed in the evil times. In the days of famine, they shall be satisfied. The wicked shall perish, and the enemies of the Lord shall be as the fat of lambs. They shall consume into smoke, shall they consume away. The wicked borroweth and payeth not again, but the righteous showeth mercy and giveth. For such as is blessed of him shall inherit the earth, and they that be cursed of him shall be cut off. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he shall delight in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hand. I have been young, and now I am old, yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. He is ever merciful, and lendeth, and his seed is blessed. Depart from evil, and do good, and dwell forevermore. For the Lord loveth judgment, and forsaketh not his saints. They are preserved forever, but the seed of the wicked shall be cut off. The righteous shall inherit the land, and dwell therein forever. The mouth of the righteous speaketh wisdom, and his tongue talketh of judgment. The law of his God is in his heart. None of his steps shall slide. The wicked watcheth the righteous, and seeketh to slay him. The Lord will not leave him in his hands, nor condemn him when he is judged. Wait on the Lord, keep his way, and he shall exalt thee to inherit the land. When the wicked are cut off, thou shalt see it. I have seen the wicked in great power, and spreading himself like a green bay tree. Yet he passed away, and lo, he was not. Yea, I sought for him, but he could not be found. Mark the perfect man, behold the upright, for the end of that man is peace. But the transgressors shall be destroyed together. The end of the wicked shall be cut off, but the salvation of the righteous is of the Lord. He is their strength in a time of trouble, and the Lord shall help them and deliver them, and he shall deliver them from the wicked and save them because they trust in him. Okay, so if you notice, I read this psalm a lot because it's to me, when you understand who the Lord of hosts is, it's an eyewitness, and this psalm has nothing to do with Jesus the Christ. So notice the last three verses, the last two verses, 39 and 40, when you understand who the Lord of hosts is. It says, so we want to know who it is that brought us salvation, right? It says, but the salvation, this is the salvation of the Israelites. The salvation of the righteous is of the Lord. Lord of hosts. He is their strength in the time of trouble. So imagine praying to JC in the time of trouble. 40. And the Lord shall help them. The Lord of hosts shall help them and deliver them. He shall deliver them from the wicked and save them because they trust in him. Okay? Let that firm. Okay? So with that being said, any comments? Okay, so we'll go to some current events. Like I was saying, over the last couple of weeks, I've been noticing how these people got a plot going, and they got there's something going on with Trump. All of a sudden now the media is attacking. Check this out. Okay.
Even as some convicted Trump aides also threaten Putin-style attacks on opponents if they actually get Trump reelected. Now, this big news comes as a California judge has ruled against Trump lawyer John Eastman today, who also separately awaits a criminal trial in Georgia. And these mounting legal setbacks for Eastman are significant because he was the legal mastermind and architect, key planks of the coup plot, as those January 6th hearings showed.
Adopt a slate of electors yourselves.
He started to ask me about something dealing with Georgia, preserving something potentially for appeal.
I don't think it's just your authority to do that, but quite frankly, I think you have a duty to do that.
Did Dr. Eastman admit in front of the president that his proposal would violate the Electoral Count Act?
Mr. Eastman acknowledged that that was the case, that even what he viewed as the more politically palatable option would violate several provisions.
I said to him, are you out of your effing mind? I only want to hear two words coming out of your mouth from now on. Orderly transition. Orderly transition. So that's about Eastman, as described by his own Trump administration colleagues. Those damning accounts came from people who generally backed Donald Trump's policies and ideology, but they did stop short of the authoritarian coup that Eastman was plotting on Trump's behalf. Now, a judge has just ruled that Eastman should be disbarred, expelled from his lifelong profession as an attorney over his conduct in those plots. The judge citing Eastman's lies and gross negligence involved in the 2020 election that Trump lost, and finding the State Bar Investigative Unit did prove that Eastman conspired with Trump to obstruct a lawful function of the government through the January 6th plot. Eastman and another indicted Trump plotter, Jeffrey Clark, are both at risk of losing their law licenses, and that's huge. They've already been searched by agents in the separate federal case. You can see some of that pretty dramatic and unusual footage here on your screen. Being disbarred forms a warning to other lawyers who might ponder similar actions on behalf of, yes, Donald Trump right now, but other politicians in the future. It's an important line in the sand, because some anti-democracy lawyers might argue, well, if they can figure out how to do something that's not technically a felony, maybe they can go right up to that line. But here we've seen the bar process in several states is showing even if lawyers try to use their legal knowledge to be that tricky, a betrayal of their duty can still stop them from ever practicing law again. And for most of these people, that is a big part of their life. It is also their main source of revenue. It is a big deal. And I want to be clear, that is separate from whether they are found to have committed crimes. Both of these two men, for example, are presumed innocent legally. They also both await criminal trials. Georgia will determine their criminal liability when they get their day in court. The other individual, Jeffrey Clark, who we've been covering, was back in court yesterday in a separate but obviously related disbarment hearing where he just ducked the questions.
That, Mr. Fox, I will invoke the fifth as to. I will invoke executive privilege, law enforcement privilege, deliberative process privilege, and attorney-client privilege on the Fifth Amendment, executive privilege, law enforcement privilege, deliberative process privilege, attorney-client privilege, executive privilege, and the other three.
So they're going against, they're attacking all the lawyers that had anything to do with Trump. So it's like a 180-degree turn all of a sudden. So here go one more.
The buying emotion color wheel turns skeptical.
These comments, these rare comments, I should say, public rare comments from Judge Reggie Walton. First, just give us some context for what it means for a sitting federal judge to speak out like this in this manner. And what do you think of what he had to say about what him, his family, and other judges are experiencing, all because of the cases they are taking?
Well, judges traditionally think of their comments as coming only through their orders. They are typically pretty loath to make public comments, particularly about any particular case, because they don't want to suggest anything other than impartiality. And so I think it is quite extraordinary for the judge to be speaking out here. But I think that only judges know what their experiences are like and the kinds of threats that they're getting and how new this phenomenon really is. You know, we can look at some examples of judges who were on the receiving end of threats to their lives. There was a judge in New Jersey whose son was killed with bullets meant for her. There was a judge in Chicago whose husband and mother were killed by someone looking for her. So these threats can be very dangerous. And, you know, I think the fact that the judge is choosing to speak out, keep in mind, this is a judge appointed by Republican presidents, both Ronald Reagan and George W. Bush. And so for him to be going out there, this is not, you know, a pro-Republican, pro-Democrat type of a comment. This is a comment about the state of our judiciary and the rule of law.
And speaking of that, Eugene, Donald Trump has publicly attacked so many people over the last 9 years. It's stuff we cover on a regular basis. He hasn't faced any real consequences for those verbal attacks. And obviously been devastating to the state of political discourse in this country because it's really set new parameters, created a new culture, if you will, where this seems to be acceptable for some people in Trump's circle. What does it say about our justice system that this judge is now publicly raising this alarm?
Well, it says that this is an issue that's worthy of attention from the highest levels in our country. There's been a report that came out this week from Reuters that says since 2020, attacks on federal judges have more than doubled. Since 2015, the year that former President Donald Trump launched his first presidential campaign, that number more than tripled. And you've seen Republicans in the judicial system come out and say they believe it is because, in part, the norms that have now been set by Donald Trump. We haven't seen many Republicans on Capitol Hill, if any, come out and say that this is something that needs to stop. And if it does not, we could expect it to continue, and there could be even worse consequences than some of those we've already seen, which have been quite severe in some cases.
Barbara, as you pointed out, you know, Judge Walton was appointed by Republican presidents. The Washington Post points out that other Republican appointed judges have also spoken out about this. It's clearly not a Democratic or Republican issue at this moment, no matter what Donald Trump says or what he tries to portray it as. But what can be done, and is the fact that he has been given so much leeway, where he has not been held to account just for the rhetoric of what he has said about judges, clerks of the court, daughters of judges, family members of judges, is that in of itself unprecedented and dangerous that he is not held to account?
Yeah, you know, I mean, historically, you didn't have to tell people not to make death threats about judges and their family members, or not to, you know, say things that were likely to inflame the public such that they would become the subject of these kinds of threats. And so we've really crossed over into a new era. And, you know, Donald Trump is going to look for any loophole he can find in these gag orders. The one that was issued by Judge Merchan did not include the judge's family. And so that's who Donald Trump goes after. Who's left? Who's outside the scope? Now the judge can amend that order, and I suspect he will, to include the judge's family to make the next go round prohibited. But, you know, Donald Trump will then look for somebody else, because the judges have been careful to exclude themselves and the prosecutors from these gag orders to allow Donald Trump to criticize the prosecution and the judiciary in these cases. I do think, though, that the way to at least curtail some of this is through vigorous prosecution. You may recall that when Merrick Garland was asking U.S. attorneys around the country to gather their law enforcement partners and be sure to have a program in place to prosecute people who are engaging in threats at school board meetings, with health officials, with election board officials. And when he testified before Congress, members of the Senate cracked down on him as suggesting that he was violating the First Amendment rights of parents and other people in communities. Threats are not protected by the First Amendment. And so we have to make that very clear here, that this is a serious crime and it threatens to affect the rule of law in this country. And so those people who give any sort of serious discussion.
Okay, so like I said before, when you go back and see what they're talking about, you can see how these people handle the president. They're whites. These radical white folks, the ones that rushed on the White House, that's where it's coming from, and it's spreading all over the place. So and they getting their ass whooped too. If you notice on social media, in restaurants all over the place, they getting their ass whooped. But the lady Margie Green, and even the guy over there in Texas, the governor of Texas, he ain't respecting the president. He ain't respecting nobody. They still gonna do what they gonna do anyway, regardless of the like he's saying right here, the rule of law, which is what's supposed to be the thing to do as an American, just like apple pie. So you're supposed to respect the rule of law, respect the authorities, but these people ain't doing that. You notice lately, like I said, even when the president Biden won, and then they said Biden he didn't win. And they didn't even allow the transfer of government. I mean, the transfer of power. They didn't even want it to go. It didn't even go right like it's supposed to. And you see that spirit all over the place now. So all of a sudden now, these judges bringing that up. And so everything's turning all of a sudden on Trump. But like I said, when you understand how these people operate, it's a plan they got in place. They didn't want to get no Republican candidate through the regular process. They wanted Trump to get to this point, and then they're gonna demoralize him. They got somebody else in the bushes. Like I said, just keep your eyes on it. So they got some trickery finna go down on this election. And all hell gonna break loose. Okay. Anybody got any comments on that? Okay. Everybody good? So like I said before, this is yeah, like I said, I keep telling you that everybody waiting on us to leave here, and they don't want us to leave, but the events that's being transpired in the hand of the Lord of hosts is bringing it about, even unbeknownst to them. So let's look at this, and I'll let you weigh it out. Okay, check this out.
Our digital world
like I said,
is tracking all of us in ways we can.
Everybody can't see this. Don't have eyes to see and ears to hear. Here we go.
In a world where historical narratives have been shaped by dominant powers, truths have often been obscured and identities manipulated. Today, we embark on a journey to unravel one of the most enduring deceptions of our time, the true identity of the Hebrew Israelites. For too long, misconceptions have clouded the understanding of this ancient lineage, leading to a distorted view of history and identity. In this video, we confront the prevailing narrative head on as we take a look into the pages of history and scripture to shed light on the truth. It is a truth that challenges preconceived notions and forces us to reevaluate our understanding of heritage and lineage. Now, we confront the notion that skin color determines righteousness and challenge the narratives that seek to divide rather than unite. So join me as we explore the words of Jeremiah chapter 5 and uncover the parallels between the plight of the true Hebrew Israelites and the struggles of indigenous people worldwide. Through critical examination and thoughtful analysis, we aim to dismantle the veils of deception and reclaim the narrative of the Hebrew Israelites from the clutches of misinformation. So join me as we take a look into this Pam Kalaman's video, as my fellow Black brothers and sisters seem not to agree with what this man is saying. Here's the clip.
Africans, African Americans, Native Americans, Mesoamericans, Aborigines, and many of the Caucasus Nordic tribes in Europe and Asia are the true Hebrew Israelites. They are the red, white, black, and yellow people of Hopi tradition. So what did Yahweh do? He sent the Babylonians, which you'll find in Jeremiah chapter 5 and the succeeding chapters after that. If you read the story of the true Hebrew Israelites in Jeremiah chapter 5 and the relationship to Babylonia, you will see the relationship with African Americans to the colonialists, to Native Americans and the colonialists, to the Aborigines and the Australians who came in and took over the land, and every other story of indigenous people being subjugated by the colonial powers. Now, what are the colonial powers? Because some true Hebrew Israelites are light-skinned, okay? Not all white people are bad. There is, however, a group of light-skinned folks who are called the name stealers. They are the Babylonians. They are the Spanish conquistadors. They are the Venetian bankers. They are who run the Vatican. They are the Bavarian Illuminati, and so on and so forth. This is a warring race that was designed to conquer, infiltrate, deceive, commit acts of violence, propagandize, brain.
Cain descendants. Nobody don't seem to want to acknowledge that.
And ultimately put all of us into a prison in this earth. This is the true revelation of the prison planet. They like to get you thinking that we're locked in this three-dimensional simulation and we're having our energy harvested by some sort of interdimensional beings that live outside of it. And although that's possible, it's highly improbable. Because there was times on this earth where humanity thrived in incredible ways that we can barely imagine. We weren't living in a prison then. We were invaded. So why is this important? Why do I keep on reminding people who the true Hebrew Israelites are? That's because y'all are special. You have special powers of prayer, magic, and meditation. You can make all this go away. Literally by emitting frequency, the new song, with a strengthened right hand, and rid all the evil from the world. It takes a lot of work. You have to become so righteous that you can see any wickedness in the world. You have to be so courageous that you'll stand up to any tyranny, no matter how massive its military is. And we have to work together. We have to get the four peoples who are scattered across the earth back together, working in unison, understanding that we are united by the principles and motivations of our hearts and our minds as true children of God. We have to stop letting them put corrupt ideas in our minds that pit us against each other in every dimension, whether it's male and female, parents and children, this generation and that generation, this color of skin and that color of skin. What are we united by? We are united by principles, by a deep respect for human life, by a deep respect for a great spirit, a reverence and gratitude for creation itself. We must find those people based on the
Now, what makes this a debate is that proponents of the idea often point to historical and anthropological evidence to support their claims. They may reference studies indicating that ancient Israelites likely had physical characteristics associated with populations indigenous to the Middle East, which could include darker skin tones, as well as textual descriptions within religious texts that have suggested the presence of melanated individuals among the Israelite population. Proponents may argue that the portrayal of biblical figures in Western art has perpetuated a Eurocentric interpretation of their appearance, obscuring their true ethnic identity. Moreover, proponents may highlight the experiences of marginalized communities, such as African Americans, who have historically sought to reclaim their heritage and identity by connecting themselves to biblical narratives. Now, this sentiment is often grounded in a desire for empowerment and recognition of.
Okay. So what we're looking at is, what this guy was talking about was, he trying to make it like it's a, you always hear people talking about, they go to this verse, I think it's in Isaiah somewhere, about Israel is a speckled bird. But Israel ain't no speckled bird. Like I said, Israel, Jacob was a man of color, Israelite. His 4 wives was Israelite women. So all the children of Israel, all 12 tribes is same color. People of color. There wasn't no speckled bird. So what they're doing is, like the lady was saying, we looking at them in the process right now. We keep the Most High separating us like he did Adam. The man whom he formed, he separated him, put him in the garden away from the man on the 6th day. So the same thing right here. We see him in the process of isolating us, but they're trying to stop that isolation. They keep on trying to make it look like even the people over in the land of Israel now, these Jews, Edomites, trying to say that different tribes was different colors. Like they're saying they're a tribe, and they're trying to acknowledge now that all the evidence coming out that we are Israelites, but we are a particular tribe. Like I said, they trying to push the narrative that they was of different nationalities in each tribe, but they don't add up. Just like I said in Genesis chapter 10, Noah's 3 sons. We ain't seen nowhere in the world. It never happened. No man had no Chinese baby, a white baby, a black baby. It ain't never happened. If he was a Hebrew, or if he was an Asian and he had an Asian wife, all the kids is Asian. Just like we ain't never seen no woman have no baby without no man. All that's paganism, the mind of the Gentile. Mystical bullshit. That's all it is. So they're trying to, being that the Most High freeing us with all this stuff that's happening, he's freeing us, they're trying to gather us back into that ideology, but it ain't happening. Any comments on that? Okay. I'm gonna open it up for some questions, comments, dialogue about anything from last night or during the week. Or anybody that's researching, got any questions? Somebody came across? Okay, I'm gonna play this here and we'll talk about it. Then we'll go into my topic, which is what this Russian president did.
The Jesus you have been praying to is not the real God, but rather an image created by white people. The debate about Jesus being black has persisted for centuries. However, recently, information provided by scholars has proven that Jesus was black. This time, it can't be challenged. And guess what? No media is allowed to talk about it. So, here we are to share with you the reality. In today's video, we will give you the real reasons, without censoring anything, why your God Jesus was black. Let's get started. The image of Jesus Christ as a white man with fair skin, flowing hair, and blue eyes has long been ingrained in Western culture and religious iconography. However, it has been challenged. Many scholars have written extensive pieces proving Jesus was not white. He was a black man. Let's start the discussion with the arguments put forward by scholars Edward J. Blum and Paul Harvey in their seminal work, The Color of Christ. These arguments challenge this conventional portrayal and shed light on the historical evidence suggesting that Jesus was likely of African descent. To understand Jesus' racial identity, examining the historical and cultural context of first century Judea is essential. Ancient Judea was located in the eastern Mediterranean region, encompassing parts of modern-day Israel, Palestine, and Jordan. It was a crossroads of diverse civilizations, including Egyptians, Assyrians, Babylonians, Persians, Greeks, and Romans. These rich cultures contributed to the ethnic diversity of the region. The primary population of Judea was the Jews, who traced their ancestry to the ancient Israelites. Jewish identity was primarily defined by religious and cultural factors rather than racial ones. However, over centuries of dispersion and intermingling with neighboring peoples, Jews in Judea would have exhibited various physical features, including skin tones, facial features, and hair textures. Throughout its history, Judea experienced waves of conquest and migration, leading to intermarriage and assimilation between Jewish and non-Jewish populations. This intermingling further contributed to the region's ethnic diversity. Additionally, the Jewish diaspora brought Jews into contact with communities across the Mediterranean and Near East, resulting in diverse physical appearances among Jewish populations. While there is limited direct evidence about the racial composition of ancient Judea, modern genetic studies offer insights into the ancestry of contemporary Jewish populations. These studies suggest a degree of genetic continuity between modern Jews and ancient Middle Eastern populations, further highlighting the diversity of ancestral backgrounds among Jews. The Bible and other historical texts provide some clues about the racial composition of ancient Judea. For example, biblical figures such as King Solomon's Bride, the Queen of Sheba, are described as having dark skin, which some interpret as evidence of racial diversity in the region. Ancient historians such as Josephus mention various ethnic groups in Judea, including Egyptians, Ethiopians, and Arabs. Now, Jesus, as a Jewish man born in this multicultural milieu, would have likely possessed physical features more akin to those of Middle Eastern or North African descent, which means he was also Black. Some theories suggest that Jesus was crucified because of his race. According to the accounts in the New Testament of the Christian Bible, Jesus was arrested by the Roman authorities at the instigation of Jewish religious leaders who viewed him as a threat to their authority. He was brought before Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor of Judea, who ultimately ordered his crucifixion. The specific reasons for Jesus' crucifixion vary, depending on theological interpretations and historical perspectives. Jesus' teachings and actions challenged established religious norms and authorities, leading to conflict with Jewish religious leaders who viewed him as a heretic or blasphemer. His claims to be the Son of God and the Messiah were considered blasphemous by some. Jesus' growing popularity among the masses and his messianic claims may have raised concerns among the Roman authorities about potential unrest or rebellion. The Roman governor, Pontius Pilate, may have viewed Jesus as potentially threatening the region's stability. According to the gospel accounts, Jesus was tried before both Jewish and Roman authorities. The Jewish leaders accused him of blasphemy and sought his execution. At the same time, Pilate found him guilty of sedition or treason, possibly due to pressure from the Jewish leaders and concern about maintaining Roman control over Judea. From a theological perspective, Jesus' crucifixion is often understood as fulfilling Old Testament prophecies and serving as a sacrificial atonement for the sins of humanity. In Christian theology, Jesus' death on the cross is seen as the ultimate act of love and redemption, offering salvation to believers. But how did his race play a role in this? Jesus' challenge to religious and political authorities was central to his ministry. But if he were Black, his racial identity could have intensified resistance from those in power, who may have viewed him as a greater threat to social order and stability. In societies where racial prejudice and discrimination were prevalent, Jesus' Blackness made him a target for hostility and mistreatment, further complicating his mission and message. This means that if people were against Jesus, he was Black. Many scholars have also proven that Jesus was Hebrew and Hebrews were not white. The ancient Hebrews, including those living during Jesus' time, were a Semitic people who originated in the Levant region, including modern-day Israel, Palestine, and parts of neighboring countries. As with any ancient population, the appearance of Hebrews would have varied widely, and they likely encompassed a range of skin tones, most notably those with darker complexions. Hebrew primarily refers to a cultural and linguistic group rather than a specific racial or ethnic category, akin to the appearance of heated bronze. This imagery evokes a sense of warmth and richness, reminiscent of the deep tones found in individuals with darker skin pigmentation. Interpreting these verses through a lens that affirms Jesus' blackness, challenges prevailing Eurocentric portrayals, and emphasizes the importance of cultural and historical context. Jesus, as a native of the Middle East, would likely have had physical features that reflected the ethnic diversity of the region, which included a range of skin tones. Another important reference would be from the Song of Solomon 1:5, I am dark but lovely, O daughters of Jerusalem, like the tents of Kedar, like the curtains of Solomon. They describe themselves as dark but lovely, using imagery that suggests a sense of beauty and allure despite their darker complexion. While this verse...
Okay, so let's look at this. Anybody got any comments so far? What you listening to? So let's look at this, because you gotta understand what's going on. You gotta understand that the last people that was in the land in 70 AD wasn't Israelites. And so when you start talking about the Russia opened up his vaults, the Russian people opened up, Putin opened up his vaults, this is predicated off the fact it's a whore. When the Israelites, when the Bible was closed out in Malachi, it's perpetrators posing as Israelites in the land. And not only that, they mingle with mulattoes. So you got to look at that. So then you got to understand that this whole situation with Jesus Christ, that they saying right here, and the reason why they got him black was Caesarean when he came. Okay, so when he came, Edomites in the land, here come this guy, Caesarean came, and they killed him. They wanted him dead. That's why they wanted him dead. He wasn't tied to them. So they had him killed. When he killed, when you understand who Caesarean was, his daddy was Julius Caesar. His mama was Cleopatra, but it's not the Cleopatra, the blacks, I mean the original Cleopatra. It's an Edomite from that's out of Ptolemy lineage. One of the generals that Alexander gave him, he gave him authority over King of the South, over Egypt. So he came into Egypt. So she come out of that lineage, the 29th dynasty, the Ptolemaic dynasty. So that's who that is. These ain't Israelites. That's where all this coming from, which is all fine and dandy, because it's going to lead you right. It's going the Most High going just like he did with this. He's going to blow it out the water. When it's all said and done, it's going to end up right on who the Israel's Savior and Redeemer is for real. That's where it's headed. Because when they go to Isaiah, when they go to Genesis 18, that ain't black Jesus. When they go to Daniel chapter 10, that ain't black Jesus. And when they talk about the man that got killed in Jerusalem and his color, it ain't Jesus. It's Caesarean. So like I said, they killed him, and when they killed him, it created a religion because of who he was. He was a son of God. His mama was already considered a goddess before she died, right? And then his daddy was made a god before he died. So his mama and daddy was gods already when he was born. When he was created God. So it wasn't on any old person that showed up in Jerusalem. It was Caesarean, and they killed him, created a religion out of it. That's why the Roman, if you go back to how Cleopatra got killed, Julius Caesar married an Egyptian woman and brought her to Greece. You got to go do your research on that. The Greeks hated her because of they royals and they heroes was expected to marry Greek women. And he came there and brought her there, parading all around Greece, and the boy, the son. She had a son with her. They hated him. They didn't want to deal with him. So later on, when he disappeared, like I said, we know he went to the monastery up in the mountains. He came back at 30 years old, and came back to reclaim his kingdom. It belonged to him because he had Julius Caesar blood in him. Nobody else had Julius Caesar blood. He got killed. He had no more children. So when he came back, that's why he causing all this ruckus. So they killed him, and then a religion was created off of that. Okay, but they didn't want to deal with that religion because they knew how it originated. And then later on, when the Roman Empire got sacked by those giants, and it was in this fallen state, divided up into 4 parts, Constantine came, subdued the other 3. Now he needed a religion to unify the nation. He went to Christianity. That's where you get this. This is the black Jesus they dealing with. But the Most High got his finger in their ear because we going, they bringing this, Russia's bringing this up, and it's all fine and dandy, but the story ain't finished yet. Because the person, like I said, that's in Genesis chapter 10, Daniel chapter 10, with the black hair and the skin like bronze and the red eyes, all that, it ain't Jesus. It ain't the black Jesus. It's our Redeemer, Lord of hosts. They got that all twisted, chopped up, saying that he's a Messiah. David, the Messiah. David, the Messiah can't die for our sins. It's the Redeemer. He's the Savior. He's the one that deals with salvation, not the Messiah. So, like I said before, it's layers. Who else is it that's going to uncover these layers than the Lord of hosts himself? That's what we're looking at. It's unfolding. And like I said before, they going one way, but it's something else getting ready to happen. And there ain't nothing we can do about it but sit back and let it unfold. Because it's above our pay grade. But that's what it's like the guy said. All this happened right here when Caesarion came and made a code out of it. Constantine came later and made a religion out of it. Russia was connected to the Byzantine Empire when they wanted to get it's black folks. We know Ham is black and the Israelites are black. So that whole region was black folks. But they're not Israelites. All of them ain't Israelites. So when Caesarion came and he created this religion, these people wanted to they had to keep that concept and what they was using in the Bible, but they wanted to get it out of Africa. So they took it to the Byzantine Empire. That's why they talking about the 7 churches. All this, they took it out of Europe, took it over into the West. That's where all these white images came from. But before they done that, they was all black images. And like the brother was saying, Genghis Khan and those mongrels came and they cut Russia off from the Byzantine Empire. So the Byzantine Empire started making white images and painting it all in these churches, but Russia still got these black images the way that it started. And they had them hid away. And so now is where we at. They Putin is using them for political reasons. Lord Host using him to bring them out, exposing the truth. So all of those are like they saying, how can you have 7 million or so damn black icon pictures all over the place? They destroy most of them now. Russia have something like, I think they said 700,000 or something like that, different images. So you're looking dead at it. So when they concocted this, they knew who the Israelites was. That's why they had to concoct the whole thing with black images. But eventually they wanted to put the white face on it, so that's what they did when they separated themselves by the Book of Revelation talking about the 7 churches. That's them moving everything over to the white, to Europe. 7 churches in Europe. Okay, then like I said before, now hundreds of thousands of years later, here come Russia with those original images that they had. That's why you got the Black Madonna and Child. All that's coming out of Africa. That's coming out of Isis, Horus, and Osar. That's what all that is. And like I said before, the trick, when you can look at it, a prime example is when Moses went to go help the Midianite Jethro's daughters water their flocks. He an Israelite, right? But when they saw him, because he looked like Egyptians, they looked the same, they said Egyptian helped them. Well, we look at the same thing now. They're saying the black Jesus, but it ain't black Jesus. The Lord of hosts is black. The Lord of hosts got a damn afro. Daniel described him in chapter 10. But Daniel.
Come on.
So like I said before, well, I've been saying for the last 20, 30 years, they in for a ride. Because what you think is going on, it ain't going on. That's how these people have twisted it all up. And it's all being unraveled. Right in front of everybody's face. Okay? So like I said before, when they killed Caesarion, because they killed him. When they killed him, Octavian is a faggot, and he wasn't Julius Caesar's son. So we know how faggots get when shit ain't going their way, and they got power. So he killed Caesarion. He didn't want to deal with him because he was a true son, and the crowd and the population was behind him. So he killed him. But he created a religion. And all those 16 crucified saviors before him, they laid all that on him. And like I said, he wasn't no white man, he's mulatto. This is who they debating over. But you got another Negro in Daniel 10, and you got another Negro that came and cooled the day to Adam, and he came to Abraham. We Gabriel and Uriel with him. And like I said, I'm sitting back eating popcorn because I'm looking dead at it. Been looking at it. But you can't, you got to bring the white man in the picture to get niggas' attention. Because it's ain't no way in hell no black man know all this. So that's exactly what he's doing. He's starting the party off with a white man in power. Opening up a vault. Start a conversation. Okay? Any comments?
Sir, shalom, everyone. Brother Leonard, I was thinking as you were, breaking this down, because you can really simplify things where we get a greater understanding, right? So listen to the video. The brother was saying anointed one, right? To fulfill what's in the Old Testament. We know who the anointed one was, right? We know who our Redeemer is, which is not the same. So if the anointed one was mentioned in the Old Testament already, why did he come later in the New Testament as the anointed one, but fulfill what's in the Old? It just, it doesn't make any sense to me to keep putting Christ as the anointed one. And as you was explaining that and breaking it down, yeah, it makes sense why they do what they do, but still we're lost because, like you said, it's layers to this. So it's gonna come. The Lord of hosts is gonna bring it all forth, but it's layers to this. And they created, you know, the social media platforms as far as Instagram, you know, Facebook, X, or whatever you want to call it, to distract us, right? With what's going on, you know, in Hollywood and everywhere else. But we are using these platforms to bring forth knowledge and the truth. So they can't stop what's gonna, you know, come forth. But I'm just saying I appreciate that, because as you was breaking that down, it was making sense. Because I keep saying, why do they keep wanting to say JC is black? There's no JC. He is not our Redeemer.
Right. Exactly.
He's not the anointed one.
Right. And he's speaking the Creator. And like I say, his hand that we know was in everything is speaking to us through these. He ain't speaking to. If you blind, he ain't speaking to you. You ain't got eyes to see and ears to hear. But through his people that he waking up and he dealing with, he's speaking to us through these things.
Yes, sir.
Man, yeah, he's speaking to us. So, like I said before, what's when you look at this to show you how crazy it is? What's the difference in what they did with Jesus because they changed the narrative? What a Messiah is. They got you thinking the Messiah is, like I said in Daniel chapter and Isaiah chapter 9. Under us a son is given. The government is upon his shoulder. The great prince, the Almighty God. See that? So that ain't what a Messiah is. They change the narrative on it, what it is. So you thinking, oh yeah, Jesus, he the Messiah, he can do all that. No, the Messiah that ain't what the Messiah do. That's what the Redeemer do. So they didn't change the narrative on it. But my point is this: what's the difference in this when they brought Obama on the scene, put him in the White House? What's the difference? It's directed toward the Israelites, directed toward the Most High people, to throw them off. Because they got to the point, just like these white people in January 6th, they don't respect the rule of law no more. That's what we had got. You lied to us, said you're gonna do this. Different politicians said they're gonna do this and do that. Well, they were still with the government. They were still with them. But how they revived us? They brought Obama on the scene. We got right back into the political process. But it's just it got him looking black. So what's the difference in this? When like I said, the Lord of hosts black. So when they brought this, when JC came, they created a religion and made all of them. So that's ain't no difference. And then you go back to Martin Luther King. Same old bullshit, same old narrative. Now one of them ain't the Redeemer. They look like the Redeemer, but they ain't none of him. He already told us, ain't nobody, I'm gonna do all this. Ain't no man gonna do shit. So that's how we being hoodwinked. Because we looking for, they done changed the narrative and they done changed the definition on words. That we looking at them one way, but that ain't what it means. The word don't mean that. Like I said, Messiah is and deliverer and redeemer, two totally different things. One of them is a divine being. The other is a man.
Yes, sir. All praises. Yes, sir.
That's what we getting caught up in. Ain't that something? Like I said before, and then you say, well, what are you talking about? Well, we just read last night when Daniel was a piece of shit. They had him he was in the prison house, 12 years. He ain't had no authority, no nothing. Then the Most High raised him up. The Redeemer raised him up and brought him to the front of Pharaoh. So just a day before that, he wasn't shit. But then after he broke down the Pharaoh dream and all that, now the Pharaoh on his knees worshiping him. And the man just told his musicians and counselors just told him, what you asking us to do is a God. It's got to be a divine being to do what you asking us to do. And then Daniel came and did that. So what did Pharaoh do? He the highest authority in the land. He down on his damn knees worshiping a man.
Come on.
That's how thrown off these people is. And they got us in the same situation. You showing Negroes the scriptures, what they were actually saying, but it ain't registered. Because they found that narrative that what these people are, like Abraham told them. They had no understanding. He wasn't giving them to have understanding. And the wisdom that you getting, it's not the same wisdom that they got. It's less. And that's where we at. Is there something?
Yes, sir. Come on.
Okay. Yeah.
Come on. All praises.
Anybody else got anything on that before I want to talk about, go back into that, because believe it or not, what just happened is humongous. It didn't change the whole narrative. Like I said, you can look around, you think those white folk was walking on their toes a couple of weeks ago. They really on their toes now. And that like the Most High said, Lord Host said, he demanded that you fear him. Well, that's where they at. I feel getting worse and worse. And like I said, you know what a faggot or a homosexual do when they get under pressure. Okay. January 6th is an example. Okay. So let's look at it. I'll play the first one right here. This is one they opened up the vault and some of the things they were said. Let's deal with that. Okay.
Jesus, his mother, and those around him, white or black. If you look at the paintings and depictions in European museums, you will see Jesus as a fair-skinned, handsome man with long blonde hair, blue eyes.
See, they already told you they say paintings, so there it is right there. What you think they're gonna do with a paintbrush if they ain't have no damn respect for the Most High word? What you think they're gonna do with a paintbrush?
And a tall height. That's the typical physical appearance of any European man in a bid to prove that Jesus was a white man from Europe. But interestingly, the Bible does not explain Jesus's physical appearance. Then how come Europeans have depicted a Jesus of their own choosing?
Well,
how can we know what Jesus, his mother, and his people looked like? Well, that's when we have to heed toward the Russian vaults holding 15th and 16th century religious paintings. These hidden paintings are now being presented before the world, raising questions about how Europeans depicted Jesus. Because Russia did not actively participate in Europe's propaganda of whitewashed religious paintings, the depictions we see in Russia are one of their kind, preserving reality. So, what do these paintings suggest? Let's find out. So, how has Europe depicted Jesus? Until now, the world has been confused about how Jesus looked. Even though Europe has tried hard to whitewash the Bible in religious paintings, people still doubted Jesus' appearance, especially because he was a Jew born in Israel, where people were of black complexion. Jesus' blackness, much like his Jewish heritage, signifies his connection to a specific community. This racial dimension stems from Christianity's rejection of Jewish identity. The notion of whiteness, portraying superiority based on skin color and cultural background, ignores the essential Christian distinction between Jews and non-Jews. It fails to recognize that this division, originally established by God but corrupted by sin into conflict and separation, has been resolved through the Jewish Messiah, Jesus, on the cross. Therefore, in Christ, all other divisions among people, whether based on geography, language, social class, status, nationality, ability, and more, should not serve as grounds for discord or hostility. In Christ, all.
So the brother said that we got confusion. It's confusion of faith going on. So I'm gonna read this right quick before I start this back. So Daniel prayed, right, in Daniel chapter 9, and then he saw what was going on, and he says, verse 4, Daniel 9 and 4. I prayed unto the Lord my God and made confessions. Check it out, and said, "O Lord, the great and dreadful God. You see me, I read this every day almost in prayer. So keeping covenant and mercy to them that love him and unto them that keep his commandments. We have sinned and have committed iniquity and have done wickedly and have rebelled. See that? Rebelled even by departing from thy precepts and from thy judgments. Neither have we hearkened unto thy servant, the prophets, which have spoken in the name of our kings and our princes and our fathers and of all the people of the land. O Lord, here you go. O Lord, righteousness belongeth unto thee. So righteousness belongs to the Lord of hosts. But unto us, why? Because we rebelled. We sinned. Look at that. We have sinned, we have committed iniquity, and we have done wickedly, and we have rebelled. So because of that, unto us, confusion of face, as it is this day, to the men of Judah, and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and unto all Israel that are near and that are far off, through all the countries whither thou hast driven us, because of their trespass that they have trespassed against thee, against the Lord, right? So let's go back and look at that. But unto us, a confusion of faith, as it is this day. Check it out. To the men of Judah, not the Chinese, not the heathen, not the Gentile, the men of Judah, to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and unto all Israel that are near, that are far off, through all the countries whether they've been driven. Right there where we at now. It don't apply to the Gentile, the confusion of faith. He the one created. He used him to create the confusion of faith. We the one got the confusion of faith. See that? So let me play this. Yeah, let me there's something else I want to talk about on that. So go back to Daniel right quick. Inject this in there. So it says that in chapter 9, right? It says in verse 5, verse 4, chapter 9 of Daniel, verse 4. And I prayed unto the Lord my God and to make a confession and said, O Lord, the great and dreadful God, keeping covenant and mercy to them that love him and that keep his commandments. We have sinned and have committed iniquity and have done wickedly and have rebelled against, even by departing from thy precepts and from thy judgment. So right here, verse 5, we have sinned, we have committed iniquity, and we have done wickedly, and we have rebelled. So what do rebel mean? To turn away from, right?
Yes, sir.
So how in the hell he go, if we rebel and turn away from him, how is it him that come back and come to Jerusalem and die on the cross? Think about that. Let that ferment. Show you how crazy this is. He done sent him, we didn't rebel from him, he didn't cast us away from him, but he come back. Then he says, I'm gonna cast you off, let you go by yourself, figure out what you done wrong, and then seek me. But at the same time, he came on the cross. Let that ferment. Okay.
All are united. Thus, the racial divide between black and white directly contradicts the essence of Christ and his universal mission. Jesus' blackness holds historical significance because, like his Jewish identity, it situated him in a specific time and place, as do his followers. To truly understand Jesus, we must acknowledge the historical context in which he lived and died. As Karl Barth pointed out, including Pilate's name in the creed signifies that Jesus' suffering occurred not in some distant realm, but in our tangible earthly reality. Consequently, we must not avoid the complexities of the lives and bodies with whom Jesus identified. As Paul teaches, each member of Christ's body brings unique gifts and contributions. If Jesus aligned himself with specific people distinguished by particular domestic and international markets. Additionally, many older icons that were previously concealed have resurfaced or been repatriated from overseas. The Russian icons that have surfaced now are only intact because of the preservation efforts of museums, without which they would have vanished. Once plentiful, their numbers have dwindled to just 50,000.
Yeah.
The revelation of these icons serves as a potent testament to the enduring power of.
So how can you have 50,000 relics of a black Jesus? That means at one time that's who you was worshiping. So and that's just in Russia. So if you combine all Russia and the West together, imagine how many icons they had. So that's not a coincidence. That's why it's so overwhelming. And the thing about it was you gotta look at discernment, right? Why nobody hadn't discerned that until now? Well, it's the Lord knows. We've been looking at all. Nobody said where the hell all these black what's the origins of all these black images coming from that we see. Nobody said that. And that's what I mean by the hand of the Lord. He's gonna do what he wants when he get ready to do it. Nobody ain't see that. Nobody, but now that it's been revealed, it's like a big ass fucking light bulb. Excuse my expression. It's shining bright because of the understanding was always there. We just didn't connect to it. Created had us confusion of faith, like Daniel said. So the 50,000 images is a remnant. And like the dude was saying before, at one time it was millions. Millions of these paintings of this so-called black man, Messiah. Because that's how it started. Okay.
True. Their authenticity prompts us to reevaluate our historical understanding, especially regarding the portrayal of Black figures. While these figures may have been hidden over the centuries, their rediscovery now illuminates previously untold stories, challenging entrenched beliefs, and inspiring a more inclusive view of history. Currently, the Castel Sant'Angelo in Rome hosts an exhibition of 40 Russian icons, marking their first ever display outside Russia. These pieces were hidden after the October Revolution of 1917 to protect them from anti-religious acts. It's the first time such a significant collection of Russian icons has been exhibited in Italy. Additionally, a dozen previously unseen icons are now on public display for the first time. Usually made of wood, icons depict saints or sacred subjects. Within the Orthodox tradition, they are revered as divine inspirations, interpreted by artists, guided by divine inspiration. Their deep symbolism embodies the essence of an icon as a connection to another world. The wood symbolizes the Holy Cross, with its golden stage representing divine life, while the attached cloth evokes the shroud that covered Christ's body. It can be said that the Russian icons hold immense significance in Russia, much like the pyramids of Egypt or the temples of Greece. The exhibition spans from the 15th to the early 20th century, providing a rare glimpse into Russia's religious culture through its art. Amid ongoing global discussions, the revelation of these Black biblical icons has sparked significant interest. Some argue that the darkening of the icons over time is a result of aging, while others assert that the depiction of Blackness in the icons is not simply due to age, but rather an accurate representation of the skin tone of the depicted individuals.
Yeah, same thing with the and then they got us so duped that we can't see these things. So same way in the tombs of the pharaohs, they didn't paint it on the wall to show you who's who and what they look like. But they can brainwash you. You can sit there and look at it. When they open it up, they show you the pictures of what's in the tomb, and you still go along with what they say. But the answer on the damn wall. Same thing with this. That's how brainwashed we is. Okay? Play one more video before we close out.
Vladimir Putin has decided to move one of Russia's about Russia uncovering some crazy discovery? Now, before we jump to conclusions and rewrite history, let's dig into this story. Is there any truth to these claims, or is it just another internet mystery? We'll be separating fact from fiction and exploring the fascinating history of the Black Hebrew Israelites.
So, like I said before, remember what Jeremiah was shown to Jeremiah. It said it was 2 baskets of figs, right? And in Isaiah 44, the Most High tells us through Jeremiah through Isaiah, that in the last days he's gonna deal with a seed. So when you say seed, it don't mean mulatto. Seed is what the original, when Adam and Eve got together, when Jacob and his 4 wives got together. That's what the seed he's talking about, not no hybrid or whatever you want to call it, but he said a seed. So we know now, looking around, how what has been done to us, and us being over here as long as we have Negroes and believe that they have to transform themselves to be like them. They'll be black, but they can transform themselves through education and all that. They can transform themselves. They no longer think like a Hebrew, none of that. So listen to this brother while he's talking, based on what I just said.
The Black Hebrew Israelite movement, while garnering recent online attention, boasts a rich history rooted in 19th century America. Born from a complex interplay of religious revivalism, racial injustice, and a yearning for identity, it offers a unique interpretation of scripture and ancestry. Let's delve deeper into their origins and core beliefs. The Black Hebrew Israelite movement has its roots in the late 19th century with figures like Frank Cherry and William Saunders Crowdy. They claim to have received revelations from God, saying that African Americans are descendants of the Hebrew.
Claim. It's that white man talk. They claim to have. See that? This is a black man talking. Okay?
Hebrews from the Bible. Through claimed revelations, they argued for a connection between Black Americans and the biblical Israelites. This resonated deeply with a population recently freed from slavery, searching for a sense of belonging and a history stripped away by the brutality of the slave trade. Central to Black Hebrew Israelite beliefs is the concept of being descendants of the 12 tribes of Israel, specifically those referred to as the scattered tribes. They interpret passages from the Bible, particularly the book of Deuteronomy, as foreshadowing the enslavement and dispersal of Black people. They view the transatlantic slave trade as a fulfillment of this prophecy, with their arrival in America marking a new chapter in their journey.
They're delusional.
Key scriptures in their theology include Deuteronomy 28:68, which speaks of being sold unto your enemies, and Leviticus 26:13, referencing broken the yoke and brought you forth out of the land of Egypt. These verses are seen as evidence of God's plan for their ancestors and their eventual redemption. The movement also holds distinct views on Jesus. Unlike mainstream Christianity, they don't believe in the divinity of Jesus, seeing him as a prophet, much like Moses or Elijah. This aligns with their rejection of the New Testament, focusing primarily on the Hebrew Bible and its teachings. Black Hebrew Israelite practices can vary depending on specific groups within the movement. Some adhere to a strict vegan diet, interpreting.
So long time ago, they ain't got to do nothing now. You just got to sit back, because Negroes gonna come out, because they like them. They thinking like them. So they ain't got to do shit. They just got to sit back. They already brainwashed. So you got somebody like this. He ain't gonna never. He's not gonna never get to the discernment. He ain't gonna never get. This is what This is one of the biggest problems right here.
Dietary laws from the Old Testament literally. Observance of the Sabbath and other holy days is also common. Additionally, some communities practice polygamy, drawing inspiration from certain biblical figures who had multiple wives. Cherry started the Church of the Living God, the pillar ground of truth for all nations, in 1886, while Crowdy founded the Church of God and Saints of Christ. In 1896, Cherry had some unique beliefs. He thought the Talmud, a Jewish text, was important and predicted that Jesus would come back in the year 2000. He also believed in a square earth surrounded by layers of heaven. Cherry didn't allow things like playing the piano or collecting money during worship, and he taught his followers to pray facing east. He also didn't think highly of white Jews. Crowdy's church, based in Kansas, kept a connection to Jesus in their beliefs. Another important figure was William Christian. Many of the early leaders of this movement were Freemasons and were influenced by Masonic traditions. After Cherry's death in 1963, his son Prince Benjamin F. Cherry took over leading the movement. More Black Hebrew congregations popped up over the years. After World War I, Wentworth Arthur Matthews started another congregation in Harlem, calling it the Commandment Keepers of the Living God. He said they were descendants of Israelites and later moved the group to Brooklyn. There, he founded the Israelite Rabbinical Seminary to train Black Hebrew rabbis. These groups blended elements of Judaism with their own style of worship, similar to what's seen in Black churches. They took what they liked from Judaism and made it their own, forming a unique religious community. Some groups within the Black Hebrew Israelite movement preach their beliefs on the streets. They often use aggressive tactics and say things that are hateful towards Jews, racist, and xenophobic. This kind of preaching made headlines in 2019 when they targeted students from Covington Catholic High School in Kentucky. During the incident, these extremists insulted the students, calling them names like racists, bigots, white crackers, faggots, and incest kids. They even threatened violence, telling one African-American student that his white classmates would harm him and take his organs. It's important to note that not all Black people who practice Judaism are part of this movement. Chai's Rashan, who is a Black Orthodox Jewish writer and activist, points out that there's a difference between the mainstream Black Jewish community and the Black Hebrew Israelite movement.
Right. So that's my point. What I was saying earlier, and you hear me saying it over and over again, that these are people right here that when you haven't been, the Most High ain't poured the Spirit out on you like He said He's gonna do, and you just following along, jumping on the bandwagon like most Negroes do. You trying to impress these type of people. You trying to get across to them. For what? That's where the problem coming in there. Trying to impress these type of people. So my question is this: the history that he was giving us just now, who you think behind it? Can anybody answer that? When these men came on the scene and started saying that they was Israelites and started forming these different groups, who you think was behind it? No answer. The Lord of hosts. Didn't He say He was going to come in the last days? Didn't He say He's going to pour His Spirit out on us? Didn't He do that when Ezra came? And after the 70 years, Cyrus came and made the proclamation. The Bible says, let's look at it. The Bible says, so like I said, there ain't nothing new under the sun. So in Ezra, right? Ezra chapter 1. It says that, verse 1. Now, the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled, the Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom and put it in writing. Thus says Cyrus, king of Persia, the Lord God of heaven. See that? That's who sent Cyrus. The Lord God of heaven have given me all the kingdoms of the earth and have charged me to build him a house in Jerusalem. So why did He give him all the kingdoms of the earth? So He can build him a house in Jerusalem. Then 3, who is there among you of all His people? His God be with him. Let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judea, and build the house of the Lord God in Israel. He is the God which is in Jerusalem. Then 4, whosoever remaineth in any place where he sojourned, let the men of his place help him with silver, with gold, with goods, with beasts, besides the free will offering for the house of the Lord that is in Jerusalem. So right here, verse 4, if you're reading this right, this is why they got the gold, to build the house of the Lord in Jerusalem. Then my point is verse 5. After we're in the same place now. We see the affliction, the tribulation is over with. We're on our way out of here. Then verse 5. Then rose up Then rose up the chief of the fathers of Judah and Benjamin, and the priests and the Levites with all them whose spirit God had raised. Same thing with this Buccaneer talking about. He want to assume that these people was behind the scenes concocting the fact that they was Israelites. No, he told us in the last days he's gonna pour his spirit out on us, just like he did right here. After the 70 years was up, he poured his spirit out on the priests and the Levites and raised them up so they can go back to build the house of the Lord, which is in Jerusalem. Ain't nothing new. Doing the same thing now. Okay? And so, like I said before, what I mean, why would what you saying mean anything? It don't mean shit. You just you void understanding. And like I said, you're using these adjectives and pronouns that, that's what the white man do. They assumed or perceived or assumed. No, man. Come on. Let's not thinking like a Hebrew. That's gonna limit you. Huh?
I said he was using the word claim so many times.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's water on a duck bag. I'm not hearing that. So like I said, you got to put him in the same boat with the Edomites. He talking just like them. He acting just like them. Come on. And that's the reason why we hadn't got to the point where we are today. So even in closing, right? Why is you keep hearing people saying why is this coming out now? Last week or so, where they're talking about the black Jesus and all that. Well, hell, it's a beast out there. They're killing everybody. Anybody that come out with something that's like over in Africa, all the African presidents. Why they ain't never stood up until recently? Because everyone that stood up, they killed him. So the same thing with those pictures. They wasn't in a position to try to bring them out. They was gonna come up dead. But now they're in a place where they can bring them out. And you see the guy over there and Tory and the guy in Niger, all them 4 or 5 African countries that they standing up with their head up. It's called Russian came. Russian and China came. They got backing. Before that, it's a wild ass beast out there killing anybody that go against anything they got going on. That's why they hadn't came out. Now the time has come where that beast that's been doing all that, the Most High got him in subjugation. So his stuff is coming out. Negroes saying stuff and doing stuff nowadays they couldn't do. 10 years ago. Just imagine, look at the movie Birth of a Nation. Imagine if you saying that you don't believe in Jesus, or you say Jesus was black, you came up missing. But you can do that now. You can say Jesus is black, and you can say what you want to say. There was a time when you couldn't say that. Let's no talking about getting a revelation on it. You weren't finna get no revelation. Most High Spirit wasn't here. Okay. So, anybody got any comments before we close out? Everybody good?
Sister Cheryl is trying to say something, but we can't hear her.
Well, Mike, she had to open the mic up. Okay.
We still can't hear you, Sister Cheryl.
Okay. We could say that response to this evening, and maybe your mic will be working. Okay. Yeah, let me get this right quick. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. Boule, that's who that is. Boule, right? They transform themselves. They felt like they had to be like the white man in order to advance. And you see that all over the place. You know how you can't expect them to understand or discern nothing because you really are out of body experience. You disown your heritage. Yeah. So with that being said, I'm gonna say shalom to everybody, and I'll see y'all this evening so we can close out the Shabbat. Okay. Okay. Shalom.
Shalom, everyone.